Hey, everyone. All right. I am just going to test and make sure that our new mic is working. Preferences, go to audio. Yep. All right. That's interesting. The audio is turned all the way up. I don't know if that will help. Oh, well, we'll try it out here and see how that sounds. We're going to try a new setting. Is it possible? Is this possible that we don't have more questions? That seems really unlikely. Interesting. Interesting. Actually move this bar. Hmm. Be right back, guys. Yeah. If you guys are watching on the replay, I got here 10 minutes early. It's now 5 minutes early. So if you just want to fast forward, go ahead and do that. I always get here early. I cannot help myself. Also, it's just good practice because a lot of times tech is weird and, it wants to do an update at the last possible minute and things like that. So I prefer to get here Ule. All right. Oh, this is sweet. I've always had to sit so close to the screen so that the mic can pick me up, but now, but I don't like that it covers your face. Maybe we can go like that. Oh, that's a lot more comfortable. A lot more comfortable. Hi.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. A little tired.
Eh?
Eh,
What's up?
just so much shit. And I'm so annoyed with Google Workspace to even get my account set up and the admin. And oh my God, I don't even want to use it. I don't even want to fucking use it. Excuse my language.
Let it
fucking
go.
over it.
Cancel it. That's okay.
Well, we'll see. I got my
Sometimes we can
website.
get
I got my website guy on it, and we'll see. But I wonder if Outlook has some type of like thing, because no support. Support is for fucking shit. All they want to do is fucking sell you shit. Sorry. I'm really fucking annoyed.
fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, nothing, well, that's an overstatement, but little can make me aggravated faster than tech not working the way that it's supposed to.
Yes, that is my biggest thing. And so I walked away, and then my friend's husband who's building the website, and I'm like, dude, it's saying this. And he goes, but how they even let you set that up as a name, because it has to be with your domain. And he's like, that's not even an email address. So went back and did an update, and we got a little further, but it's still not saying no. But he did something last night. He's like, give it like 48 hours and we'll see, but I'm
When I originally, so I set up Google Workspace for, why did I do that? Because I had an EHR, or whatever, for whatever reason I did that. And just moving through the workbook so that you were BAA covered was so freaking annoying.
It said I had to set up this workspace stuff to even get the BAA.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't need to use your service. And I'm older. So I'm like, you know what? I don't need to use your services. If you can't give me what I want, there's plenty of other people out there, but I'm realizing maybe not so much. And I'm annoyed that I have to pay them.
Not for the price. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing for me. I'm like, oh God, it's so cheap compared to all the other ways that I would have stored data.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, well, I guess we'll do this. Yeah, it was very, very annoying. I will say that I use it every single day now. Like, I work in Google Docs constantly. I never use Microsoft Word. I hate Apple's doc program.
I don't use Apple products. I've not been a fan. I understand it's a closed, secure system, but there's not a lot of customization that you can do with it, which is why
Right.
I'm more, like, yeah. So that's what I've spent most of my week on, and I feel like it's been a waste of my time.
Oh God, that's so freaking frustrating. That's so frustrating. If you hit up against more walls, my assistant ended up doing the workbook with and for me because I got so irritated and I was like, this is a stupid waste of my time. And so I was like, I'll pay you 45 or 50 bucks an hour, whatever it was,
Mhm.
and I'll see a client for $200 during those hours instead. That seems like a better idea. And
Yeah.
also, I was getting really irritated.
I was getting irritated and I reached out to him. I'm like, what is this? What is that? And I sent him pictures and he's like, okay, I helped someone else do this, but theirs just went boom, 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 like super smoothly. And this one is just like not verifying. And so we'll see what happens, but kind of
I'm
over
so
it.
sorry. I'm sorry. I
Uh,
had that kind of like meltdown. Was it yesterday or the day before when I just got so excited to get a new Ethernet situation set up here that was going to be way faster and cheaper. And I could leave Xfinity, who I hate, but
mhm.
just did not think through that they were going to have to run cable through my attic, da 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 da. And as soon as I realized that, they were already here. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a mess because we have a tiny attic. Every time somebody goes up there, they break shit. So not only did they break our air conditioner, but they also broke our sprinkler system and they put holes in places that they shouldn't be, and neither one of them was like derelict. They were trying really hard. They were here for like 6 hours trying to do this. So I'm like, I'm gonna be an asshole and yell at them because they really were trying their best. It's just 6 hours. That's too much. All right,
Mhm.
let's jump on in. Hey, Janet, Bralicia, how are you both? Good to see you. All righty. So we're on week like way too far in. I can't even believe that we are so close to the end. So let's make sure that we get your questions answered, anything that you need ironed out. And I wanted to give you a heads up that something cool. It's extra cool for you. It's less cool for new people coming in. I think that what I'm going to do is move to live Q&As once a month. And so instead of everybody who's been through before having to wait till the twice a year that we run it live and then show up every single week, y'all will have, it won't be this group, right? It's going to be the live Q&A that's in Facebook, but still you'll have monthly support instead of having to wait 4, 5, 6 months before you have support. So just wanted to pass that on. Alrighty, let's talk wins. Let's get them in the chat because I want to make sure we have a lot of time for questions, although none were submitted for the live Q&A today. I don't know what's up with that. Drop your wins in the chatola. And let me know if the mic gets too loud. It's a new mic, so I'm still trying to figure it out, or if it gets too soft or any feedback. Yes. Sorry. I remember feeling that same way, like, hallelujah. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, both of you, yes. Finally got my consent paperwork finished that informed consent. Oh, it feels like such a load off. And it's so much bigger than just your informed consent because it's basically like 85% of your policies and procedures for your entire practice. So it's a much bigger deal than it looks like on paper of like, oh, do the paperwork, check. No, this is 85% of your whole damn practice summed up in this document. That's awesome. All right. Rachel says, jealous of you ladies. I updated my Psychology Today profile. Awesome. Anne got one call, but she has insurance I don't accept. So I still do my free consults with those folks. I let them know, like, hey, I am not in network with insurance providers, but I'm happy to do a free consult with you because I know it can be really hard to find the right provider. I can give you some hints and tips on how to get somebody who's a good match if you want. And then, about 50% of that time that they fall in love with you and they're like, maybe I want to pay your rate anyway. I'm not kidding. Totally happens. It totally happens. Awesome. All right. So let's pop in the chat what our questions are today. And that way I can kind of group them so we get through the similar questions. What you got? And it can be, Q&A style. It can also be coaching style. And it can also be mindset stuff. Awesome. I'm so glad the notes template is helpful. And told a private pay client that I'm raising rates in July. Get it? How do you know? What did she say to make you think that she may not come back?
So I let her know that, this can be quite shocking and can really trigger things. So we'll use therapy time to talk about it if this becomes a problem for you. And it's probably my own narrative, because at the end of the session, she's like, okay, great. Well, I'll send you times that I'm off next week for our next session, instead of go ahead and booking
Schedule.
yeah,
Mhm.
which is our norm. So
So she might have had a reaction, or she might have not.
she might have
Okay.
not. And she's not my flow client.
Mhm.
So
How much is
okay.
the rate increase?
$50.
Okay.
So between
May I give
now,
you?
is that, yeah.
No, tell me. Go ahead and finish. What were you going to say?
I told her kind of that incremental thing that you talked about.
Mhm.
So she's paying 125 now, and in July it'll go up to 175. So monthly do
Oh.
$10.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I mean, she seemed okay with it when I was talking about it. So it might be okay, but we'll see.
Did she? I'm going to turn my focus thing on so I don't get alerts. A couple follow-up questions. So the $10 would start next session.
Next month.
Okay. Okay. Can I give you some feedback that I think will be helpful? Okay. So sometimes our own fear we project onto our clients and it shows up in our words. So maybe telling her this can be terrifying or this can be triggering.
My own
Maybe we
stuff.
could set her up. Yeah, yeah. So I might word it a little bit differently and I would push out the increase date with future people, not with her. I'd push out the increase date a little farther so they have more heads up. So I might say something like, you've probably noticed that I haven't increased my rates the way that therapists normally do each year. And so I'm trying to start taking as good a care of myself as I encourage all my clients to take. But also, you've been with me for a long time, and I don't want to suddenly increase your rate by a lot just to catch up to where I should have already been. So what I'm going to do is our current rate is da da da. My rate for new clients is da da da, whatever the big jump is. What I'd like to do for you is continue at our current rate for a couple months. So that's going to be 8-9 sessions. And then just very slowly start to move your rate up by $10 a month until we hit my full fee rate or my full fee rate. And that way, either you have time to kind of move some things around because I know we all kind of organize our finances. What I actually leave that part out. That way you have some time to adapt. And shoot, what was the other thing I was going to say there? Dun, 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 dun. It felt important. That way you have some time to adapt. Oh, and lots of people experience clinically significant change within 15 sessions. So that way, you will likely have experienced some really significant shifts by then. And if you want to continue, cool. And if you feel like you've gotten all you need, cool. And if you're like, girl, this rate's too much for me, I need to transfer, we can work on that together too.
Okay.
So it's
And
just like super soft.
Yeah. So if she decides to reschedule, I can go back and say, after consulting with some colleagues, I think that maybe we should, I reconsidered, how would you word that about?
I wouldn't go back because we've already
Okay.
put it in her mind that this could be a really big deal. And so we don't want to go back and be like, this is such a big deal that I've changed my mind. right?
Okay.
If I were going to say anything, I probably wouldn't unless she says something first. If
Okay.
she does not reschedule, I would reach out to her and say, hey, I just wanted to touch base. That yours was the first time I had the conversation about the rates increasing, and I worry about how I may have done it and if that might be affecting you coming back. So not the rate increase, but the way that I talked about it, and see if she responds to that. But if she comes back, I wouldn't say jack about it. I would just proceed.
Okay. Okay. Where
Yay!
did,
Good job
thank
getting into
you.
motion. I know it's hard. Okay, I'm looking back at our questions here. All right. What would marketing to other providers or doctors look like for me? What could I offer them? And do I just call them up to make the connection? Oh, dang it. The GMB hack didn't hack. The hack didn't work. Dang it. All right. Rachel too, not having luck with GMB. I have a trainer that I just recently did a GMB training with. And I reached out to her and asked if there was any way that she'd be willing to do it for free for y'all. And she said yes. So I'm going to bring that on. That was my understanding. I did scan it because I was in a hurry. My understanding was that she said yes, because it's a good deal for her too, right? She has a bunch of other offers. So if you do one offer with her and it's going well, you might do other offers with her. So that's how I pitched it. So we'll see, and I'll get back to you on it. Okay. How does networking with other clinicians work? I have an idea, but I'm curious about what it looks like. Okay. Still having trouble finding my niche. I have watched Badass video and also have Patrick Cassell's workshop I did, not aim better. Okay. And if we have time, curious about what areas are the Black professionals in Florida. I know you can't know the whole state, but if you know anything off the top, oh, yay, you're going to get the, now not full license, right? You're going to get the telehealth provider thing. Okay, cool. Awesome. All righty. Let's start talking about networking. Because of the ways for you to get clients, private pay, relationship marketing is the fastest. So the more you know your niche, the easier that is, because it's easier to eliminate certain people and to hone in on others. So when we think about networking with other clinicians, just some words of wisdom, a lot of clinicians aren't great at networking or following up because they are afraid that you're going to get their clients. So I like to think about who are the providers who might come across my ideal client, but don't want to serve my ideal client. Then they are very excited to refer your way because they don't want to see those clients. So that might be one avenue. Or if you know for a fact that somebody is already full, then they usually want to know more about other people to refer to. Caveat there, if they already have a bunch of referrals, they're not going to necessarily want to meet with you because they're like, I'm busy and I don't need anything else. So what am I getting out of this? So don't let it just like deflate you if you're not hearing back from other clinicians. I find like the 1 in 10 rule of you message 10 people, you hear back from one. It's probably more like 1 in 15 for therapists. So they're not amazing at following up. So I want you to think a little bit, maybe even put in the chat what kind of providers might be adjacent to your client. Who might they treat that would be adjacent to the people you treat? And I know we need to talk a little bit more about niche and flow client, Rachel, to help you kind of figure out who that is. And you can always just pick somebody and change it over time. Then the question about doctors or other providers. Physicians are really difficult to get in with. They're very busy. They don't want to make a lot of time for things. So the person you need to woo is the person who answers the phone, the front desk staff. The more they like you, the more likely your little postcards or whatever it is that you're going to get into their waiting room, more likely that's going to show up in their waiting room. And if you can ask them, if you have 2 minutes and I can call back later if this isn't a good time to tell me what you're seeing with the patient population, like issues that they're having that I could make a little helpful worksheet on, or issues your staff is having, like, are people getting on your nerves? Is there some issue that your staff maybe is struggling with in terms of, I wouldn't want to say customer service, but like getting overwhelmed or really stressed by either the providers or the patients. If there's any sort of mini training I can do, so you can feel them out. And if they love you, then they're going to get your name in front of the physician. So woo them first. All right. Bradlecia, tell me about your niche again, because I've got the memory of an ant, and then we'll talk about where to find your people.
All good. So I say it a little bit softer on my website, but it's basically Black women who are in relationships with Black men, like toxic relationships with Black men.
Okay.
It's a thing that I know, and it's a certain set of issues. And so I was thinking like an OBGYN, but I'm all the way in Tennessee. And so I was just curious. I'm like wondering like what would that even look like? But I was on like calling the front desk staff and like just kind of letting them know who I am, who I serve. But I still, because I don't necessarily want to make something about anxiety and depression and then have all those clients call me because they're anxious and depressed. Like, I do a very specific thing. So I would love to make it just so plain and so clear that I can help you with this specific thing. So maybe something like, if you have better ideas, please let me know. But something around relationships, like how to know when it's time to leave, or how to know if you're in a toxic relationship, like take this quiz or something. I don't know.
Yes. And I would go even earlier in their stage of change if they're not already there, to like, almost like a Cosmo quiz type situation of like how to rate the health of your relationship, things like that. And I really like the OBGYN angle, especially because I know you're going for professionals, right? So professionals tend to be those folks that are we tend to be a little more responsible than the average Joe with going to our healthcare appointments, or we're too busy and we don't go, depending on the person, right? So I think that's a really, really good place. Maybe even, I'm not like the best self-carer around paid stuff, but like if your people tend to go to massages, things like that, that would also be a good in to have stuff there. And I would make sure that the people on your image are Black, because that's going to appeal more. Also, make sure you're on the directory Therapy for Black Girls, because it's one of the highest referring directories. And in terms of locations, where I grew up, there are more Black people in my city than there are any other group of people, but my city is poor. So you're not going to get the professional folks that you're looking for there. I would Google search. Yeah, Miami, probably good. I would do a Google search for demographics and SCS. Orlando, probably parts of Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, maybe like Pembroke Pines, Dania Beach, not the west coast of Florida, the east coast of Florida. The west coast is like white Midwesterners. That's the west coast. East coast is much, much, much more diverse. Just running through cities in my mind. And probably not a lot of northern Florida, because the more northern you get, the more southern it gets. So you're going to be looking more like mid to southeast. Okay. And I would think more metropolitan cities than the more kind of podunk cities.
Okay.
West Palm is a good call. Yeah, that's a really good call.
Okay, so we're just calling these folks. I guess I'm anxious about it. I'm like, they're gonna be like, who is this woman and why is she calling us about this? When, we're trying to see our patients. Like that's what I think is gonna happen to me when I call.
Okay, well, that will happen. That will happen because they're busy. And so we're really looking for a success rate. It's almost like being on Tinder or a dating app, like we got to swipe a lot before
Yeah.
we're going to get any kind of hit. And so the rejection is going to be very normal. And you're just going to be excited when somebody gives you 2 minutes to talk with them. I'm thinking about the end to capture their attention. So like,
I have a
I'm thinking
question.
about my gynecologist and what would have spoken to her. And she talked a lot about how when people are getting out of difficult relationships, they always come in for STD tests because often there was infidelity that led to that situation in the first place. So I wonder if there's some in with that, something to make the connection closer to them. So I might say on the phone call, I know you have a lot of women who are coming out of unhealthy relationships. Usually they're showing up at your door to get that STD test when they've learned that their partner's been unfaithful. And I find that this is a cue that there could be toxicity in their relationships. And I help them not replicate that toxicity in their future relationships. Could I create something for your waiting room?
Amber, that's so good.
Oh, good.
That's so good. Okay, that makes me feel a lot more confident. I like, being able to make that connection as opposed to I'm Bradlecia, this is what I do. I'd like to give you
Yeah.
this. Okay.
Yeah.
Bradlecia, I tried that, and when I was in the Keys, I brought some business cards. I had to go to a fundraising function, but I went to yoga first. And in yoga, I was kind of talking to the instructor afterwards, and she was a former military spouse, so we kind of bonded, and it felt so much more organic. And just, I gave her the cards. If there's anything you can think in like the community that would be helpful, to collaborate and get, resources out there. And it was amazing. It didn't feel like marketing, like, hi, I'm so-and-so, like it really did kind of work when you like started it that way. And I felt so much better about it because I don't like, hi, my name is so-and-so. Here's what I offer. What can I help? It sucks. But I tried that and it felt good. So definitely give it a shot.
Usually, like if it feels yucky, it's going to come across yucky. And almost always the issue isn't like, oh, I guess I shouldn't do it. The issue is just massaging that messaging. Just massage the messaging until you can, make it work. I'll give you a funny example. I worked at a counseling center. We all had to share these 2 bathrooms. And our boss, who was an elderly man, we believed he was the culprit for the pee on the seat. There was always pee on the seat. And I'm sorry, like, I don't want to wipe somebody's pee off the seat every time I have to go. It's disgusting. I don't want to do it. It's demeaning. And we all thought that it was him. Who was the one who was picked to have the conversation with her elderly boss about the pee on the seat? Because they're like, Amber, you're going to know how to say it. So I was like, Dan, I think that because of your color blindness, you might not be able to see when you've left pee on the seat. And I was just thinking that maybe if it was a habit that you always wiped it down, always, then you wouldn't have to rely on your vision because I know you wouldn't want us having to wipe your pee off the seat, right? And it went well. Went very well. No more pee on the seat. All right. So I am hearing, I would be careful, Rachel, with the domestic abuse shelters because the women who are going to be able to pay private pay have usually done something before they've ended up in a shelter, or they have the resources with family, friends, or money to be able to not end up in a shelter. That is certainly not always true. But I think you'd end up getting a lot more referrals than you could handle, and they wouldn't be the referrals that could pay your bills. All right, I'm hearing flow client stuckness. So turn on your mics and talk to me about what's feeling sticky.
Okay. So I know a few of the clients that I'm working with now and that I'm trying to graduate. They kind of don't want to graduate. But like one, they're in their age group is about, 30s, late 20s, 30s, really getting their careers going and just finding that like one guy was depressed and he was using a lot of alcohol for numbing, and we just worked through, I threw all the coping skills at him and he just took to it like nothing, and he was like, he's got this chart where he works out and he goes to CrossFit and he realized that alcohol was not, working for him. And now he's working on his relationship, but every week it's just like, I see the light click for him. He's really engaged. And then another lady too about the same thing. And I asked her to talk to me about what it was that she, felt when she came to therapy and what she feels now. She says, I felt like I was a marionette and all these people were pulling at my strings. And when I started using these coping skills and boundaries, I feel so free now and healthy.
Damn, that's great copy.
Right? And so, I mean, I guess my flow client is people who will listen and take the tools and just start using them. Like, and
so
let's
flip
surprised
that.
when they actually do.
Let's flip that script, because all of us want the clients who use what we're doing in therapy, right? And that makes us feel almost powerless to identify, like, what is it that's unique about the people who do well with me? So there's something between you and those two clients you mentioned that makes what you say stick and that they run with it, other than they're good clients. Let's imagine them with another therapist where they weren't doing the same level of active effort outside of session. What feels unique about the bond between the two of you?
I'm thinking that I was able to speak in a language that they could actually hear, the same vernacular. And I think that these particular clients, I'm thinking of my science engineer guy, I had to kind of prove my creds, like, yeah, this is evidence-based. And I'll show you how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, I'm sold.
Excellent. How did he pull for you to need to prove your creds?
He came to the engineer guy, he came to me first and he was like, I've seen therapists before, and quite frankly, I'm smarter than they were. And I was like, okay, thank you for telling me that. And so I was able to kind of give him a lot of things that he did not actually know about therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, I'm convinced.
Interesting. And did he talk at all about what was going down with the previous therapist that was not working for him?
Mostly that he just felt that he was smarter than the therapist.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
How do you come
and
across that guy who thinks he's smarter than everybody was like, oh, well, Janet does know what she's talking about. I can trust her. I can do what she tells me to do.
I really just use therapist speak, I'm like, the reason why you're having this anxiety is because your nervous system is all dysregulated and
Mhm.
da, 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 da. And so I just really, talk to them about clinically, what's going on. I do it in a way that his logic brain could really make sense of, because that's where he lives, in his logic brain. And I'm suspecting that the previous therapist was all about, how are you feeling, and a little bit more emotion based than he was ready for.
Uh-huh. And with your other client, the female client, what about her? Did she need you to kind of prove yourself a little bit? Did she think she was smarter than others?
No, I think that she needed someone that was lending a non-judgmental ear to, because she had some messy relationships going on, and non-judgmentally let her know that, when you grow up in a chaotic family, often this is the way it manifests when you get to be an adult. And so kind of working around that was very helpful.
So good. So both of them needed a conceptual understanding. They needed you to appeal to their intellect and give them a clinically sound conceptual understanding of what the hell is happening. And then once they got that, they trusted you and they were willing to take action on it. And he has what sounds, from a distance, like a slightly narcissistic bent. Maybe, who knows? Does she have that? My brain was hearing a little bit of codependency when you said she was a marionette for everybody else. Okay.
Very much
And then
codependency. Yeah.
that's kind
Codependency
of
in both. Yeah. Both the younger professional with the spreadsheet, very codependent with his partner. Like, he does everything for her. And so he came to therapy for her.
Uh-huh.
And then he started getting better and they started having big problems.
I bet they did. So how would they describe their codependency? Because obviously they wouldn't use that word. How would they, if anything, how would they describe, like, do they have trouble making decisions for themselves? Do they find themselves deferring to others? I like the marionette. That's excellent.
Yes,
They feel not appreciated.
Right, not unappreciated and very giving. They're very giving to others. They like to try and take care of others, and so much so that they're not taking care of themselves.
Do they know that at the beginning, that they're not taking care of themselves? Okay, so we won't put that in. Okay. And where would they see the problems in their lives?
Mostly that they can't do enough. They're not measuring up. Because that one client had lots of self-esteem issues, and I'm like, what kind of man do you want to be? That's where we want to default to. And so you do the things that feel like the person that you want to be, rather than serving all the time. How does this feel to you? How does it sit with you? Is this the kind of partner you want to be? Yeah.
So, and we have to think, when we're writing the copy, where are they in their stage of development when they're coming to your website? But I think you've got it here. Like, do you sometimes feel like a marionette being pulled in all the directions because you're so busy caring for everyone else? but also maybe a little underappreciated for how much you do for other people. Sometimes feeling like you can never do enough or that you don't measure up. Maybe even not sure anymore about who you really are because you find yourself being a chameleon and being whoever everybody else needs. And then in terms of kind of the bridge or the distilled message, I might want to add something like, in therapy, you will learn how to maintain those relationships that mean so much to you while finally feeling good enough. Something like that. Like you'll finally feel good enough that you are no longer juggling 10,000 things or whatever their pain points happen to be. But I'd want them to have the reassurance that they're not going to lose relationships or they're not going to sign up. You know, if we just start talking about boundaries and like find out who you are and what you need, they're going to be like, because if I'm not taking care of everybody else, they're going to leave me, you know, so we want to be careful about how we word it. But I think that that is your person. That person that takes care of everybody else. They're really intellectual, you know, they want a clear understanding of what their patterns are. They don't want cookie cutter therapy that they can read in a self-help book. They want somebody to really help them understand themselves and put like I wouldn't say clinical language, but some word kind of like that, like empirically supported or research based framework around what's happening for them so that they can take the steps to make their lives better and more fulfilling.
Okay. Can you say that part again? In therapy, you'll learn how to maintain the relationships you love. Wow.
You're going to have to rewatch the video and rewind it because this little memory here ain't going to
Okay.
remember. It should be uploaded later today.
And that's in the step-by-step kind of thing is where we find the replays, right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, Kim is out sick today, so it might be tomorrow. The problem that you're going to run into, Janet, is because it's not a demographic-based niche, and it's not a diagnostic-based niche, it's much harder to target market, you know, because it's not like, all right, well, where do these people go? They play poker every Wednesday night because they have a gambling addiction, you know, like it's harder to find them. So we'd have to think a little harder about, all right, where would these folks be? You know, where would these intellectual taker carer of others people be? All right, Rachel, let's talk through your struggle.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'm at my cousin's, as you can see my artwork from 10 years ago.
So cool.
And they got a kitten, so they're like, can you leave your door open and let them explore? And I'm like, well, today isn't my day, full of patience, you know. So very cute, but into everything. So unlike most people, I don't mind working with couples because I'm that neutral person, right? Hey, it's
Bless you.
I don't mind it. Like, yes, it's hard seeing one get upset and one doing the other, but it's kind of fun because you can call out the other person. Well, why are you acting like that? You know, like, but I'm doing it from that neutral space. But much like Janet, I don't have a specific demographic. Like I said, most of my time as a therapist has been with kind of mandated clients. So it's been really, really hard. Like I've listened to Patrick Casale's thing over and over again and stuff like that. But it's like, go back 3 years. Well, 3 years I was overseas traveling and exploring the world. So yeah, I was maybe unsure of myself and things like that. But I'm in a foreign country where I don't speak the language, so
Mhm.
you know, it's that's I think been the hardest part, because you're right with the marketing and the targeting on the website,
Mhm.
you know, and this is where I've run into kind of issues. Like, I am going to put couples counseling, and couples counseling is a no-brainer.
Mhm.
It's not going through Headway. It is private fee all the way, because I'm not giving you a diagnosis that you may or may not have just so your insurance will cover it.
Right.
Right. So I already know that's how I'm going to write it on that website,
Mhm.
type thing. And I don't, like, I really can't market to that on Psychology Today until I
Why
have the
not?
website up.
Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can, ma'am.
Okay. But on Psychology Today, like I've been putting like the Headway listing there so they can check their insurance.
Yeah. Well, you can start another Psychology Today that's specifically for couples.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know I
Let's
could have
get,
more.
yeah. So we're talking about two things here, not three things, two things here. One, we're talking about who the hell is my niche client? And then we're
Mhm.
talking about how do I market to them? So
Mhm.
let's focus on one at a time.
Okay.
Do you want to focus on individual or couples niche?
I want a mix of both. Couples too, all the
No.
time.
I mean, like right now as we're exploring it.
Oh, individual.
Okay,
Because
cool.
couples, I kind of got with the people that come to me and stuff like that. I kind of, yeah.
You know who they are. Okay, cool. Who do you not want to work with? Who gets on your nerves? Who do you not feel good at treating?
Um, it's hard to say. People with severe depression, dysthymia, like, you know, because it's like, I am a different therapist. I'm not like, oh, poor you, that kind of thing. It's like, this really sucks. How can we I'm from working in community mental health for so long, I'm definitely more solution focused.
I cannot stand working with severe depression. It's okay. Own it, girl. Own it. If you don't like
No,
it, let's name it.
no. And this sounds bad. But the millennials that always have an excuse and don't want to own up and take responsibility for their actions and how they contributed to their problems, like, well, it's this, you know, like, it's just like, okay, well, then how do you want to solve the problem? And they're like, you know, like, I'm like, I guess from working in community mental health for so long and having those mandated clients, I'm not going to work harder in your therapy than you are, because no.
Who else?
Okay,
You're
they
like, no,
may,
thanks.
you know what, Brad Livia, they may be Gen Z. I don't know the difference. I know I'm Gen X, and we played outside, we drank from the hose, like, we did all that, but I am definitely not sure what Gen Z are and the difference between millennials and Gen Z. I don't know, but thanks for calling me out on that.
So we don't like butters,
Well,
right?
the thing is, it's just like, I mean, you can peel back the layers to get them to kind of, because that's where like kind of motivational interviewing, like, but there's,
you don't have to put any nice wrapping around it. It is a safe place. Who do you not like? And I mean, you could like them in real life, but like in a private practice where you're committing to work with them for 3, 6 months, a year. And who doesn't light you up? Who would you be like, oh, I don't really want to go to this session today?
them.
Okay. Who else? Because the more I know about who you don't love working with, the more clear I get about who you do. If somebody frequently cancels and reschedules, it gets on my damn nerves because I start to feel not appreciated.
Well, and that's why I set up my practice to not work Fridays after 2 o'clock, because if I have you seen later in the day on a Friday, but I could have gone with friends and done something, and you no show, we're going to have an issue, and I'm going to have a lot of
Mhm.
resentment towards you. So I kind of
Mhm.
move my schedule for that kind of thing to avoid that.
Mhm.
But I don't mind working with people pleasers and trying to help them set boundaries,
Mhm.
and build up their self-worth and self-confidence. But the extreme people pleasers that have a hard time, like, yeah, because
Mhm. So
then
I'm
they try to
hearing like,
people please me, and it's just like, no.
yeah, I sometimes see this is so helpful to discuss because sometimes that like kind of slight codependency or even serious codependency and people pleasing, I can get down with because I know they're going to do what I tell them to do because they want to please me. And what I tell them to do is going to help them. So it works for me, you know? And I also really like to be appreciated. My love language is words of affirmation. So, like, this is super helpful to start delineating. So, I would get a piece of paper and write 3 columns: love, no thank you, and then, like, do it. I've noticed I am terrible at working with people who are alexithymic or really, really, really restricted in their affect. For me, like, if I can't see your emotions on your face, I, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to help. I can't read the situation. I had a client like that. She loved me. And I was like, I don't know why, because I cannot read your face. You know, and her emotions were very, very, very flat. I did not feel like I was doing my best work. Similarly, people with restrictive eating disorders who they tend to have that same restricted affect and hyper control. I'm not good at that. Number one, I can't read them to know how if I'm helping or not helping. And number two, that hyper control piece, I can become a sucker to, and I'll be building schedules and food plans and all the shit you're not supposed to do because I love all of that, like, planning kind of stuff. So I know if somebody's real intellectual, like philosophical, I don't work well with people who are real philosophical. I get like the abstract thinking loses me. I can't track it. I also don't work well with people who are real into like astrology or they get into stuff that for me is like more fringe than my analytical brain can make sense of. So start thinking through like who do I not work great with? Either because it's just I'm not good at it or because we don't kind of fit right or because I just don't want to. Even if I'm good at it, I don't wanna.
The extreme narcissist I don't work with, because I feel myself get combative, and it's just like, no.
Yeah, that's great. So who do I feel combative with? The extreme narcissist.
Like
Yes, those words are great.
they start doing stuff, and I'm like, really? And it's just like,
Yes.
I feel the need that I want to call them out and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, hold it, I'm getting pulled into that
Mhm.
toxic.
Yes. Who do I get in power struggles with?
Hmm.
Who do I get advicey with is one that I have to watch because that is
Hmm.
not me in my zone of genius.
Hmm.
And if I start sliding into advicey stuff, then I know something's coming up that's not helpful. Those are the kinds of questions I'd be thinking about. And I want you to share a post in step by step, like spend an hour thinking this stuff through and playing with it. Don't think it needs to translate into anything yet. We're just brainstorming. And then share a picture or whatever, or screenshot, however you end up doing it, so we can look at it and play with it with you.
Okay.
Love it. We're going to switch gears. I'm going to go into step by step.
I
It
had
doesn't look
one more quick question, because
okay.
the way my Facebook, like, I don't always see all the group stuff until later and stuff like that when people post. Did that lady ever decide to do a training for the chat
Chat GPT.
GPT? Hmm.
She has. So she is She's just trying to set up the back end so she can actually get it to you. It's already done, but she's
Okay.
setting up the back end so that you can get to it.
Okay. Wonderful.
And I will tag you in the train. Oh, you were here for it. What am I talking about? The training that we did on ChatGPT.
Mhm.
All right, friends, I will see you in Facebook in just a moment. Bye.